I'll give you my thoughts on this. That's what I thought. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, from the very newest players that we have on our team at Western Nebraska to the veterans that are graduating this year and moving on and trying to do different things with their lives. I just want to tell you that I sincerely appreciate every single player on my team, whether it's the women's team, the men's team. One of the roles that I feel like is very important as a coach is to try and somehow, in some way, build into the lives of the people that I coach. Unfortunately, there are certain obstacles that stand in the way a lot of times as a coach. Sometimes that's the individual nature of a player, someone who's very standoffish, someone who doesn't want to share with their coach about things that are going on in their lives or whatever. But one of the reasons that I coach is because I believe very strongly in the concept of building into the lives of other people. And one of the tools that I can use as a human being to do that is through coaching soccer players. I think that we have had a tremendous amount of failure over time, and we've had a tremendous amount of success. I have struggled over time to fully understand why it is that some players can be reached through the coaching process, while others seem to not really respond very well. When I was playing soccer, our coach could stand up, and some of you parents in the room will probably relate to this, but my coach could stand up in a room and he could give a motivational speech, and if he told me to get up and run through a brick wall, I would have tried to do it. Okay? The generations over time have changed, and part of coaching now has changed as well, because it's very difficult for this generation to understand that type of motivation. And so as times have changed, coaching has changed. And so one of the ways that I found to help try to build a program that is stronger is to try and build into each individual person's life, just a little bit. You know, I have 40 plus athletes on my team, and it's very difficult for me to personally get to know each and every player and have some sort of personal contact on a regular basis with them, but I try. Some don't respond to that. Some don't want anything to do with it. And that's okay. Because part of what I'm trying to do is help the ones who want to be helped, and they want to build into other people's lives, and they want a relationship with their coach that is a positive one. And so it's just like years ago when I used to teach Sunday school, and I got frustrated one time because I went to my youth pastor and I said, "Listen, I go and prepare a message every week for these kids, and I go in and teach them on Sunday morning, and out of 30 kids, like 2 of them are listening." You know, and he looked at me and he laughed. He just started laughing. He said, "You're dummy. You're teaching the ones that are listening." And you know, that stuck with me for all of the rest of the years that, as I was working into the coaching part of things, it kind of stuck with me that, you know what, when I go and prepare a training session for soccer athletes, I don't do it for the ones who are out there just goofing off and feeling like that, you know, they're better than everyone else and that they don't need to do what is in front of them. I prepare the things that I do for the ones who want to be trained. And sometimes that works out really well, sometimes not so well. Seasons are won and lost because of the way the players respond. The work rate that the player takes home over the summer, the amount of effort and desire that they put into their own individual personal training to make sure that they come back and they're giving their coach and their school 100% of their effort. And that they're able to because over the summertime, they worked really hard to be the best athlete that they could be when they walk back onto the field. And you know what? I had a group of sophomores this year. On the men's team that, without question, worked harder than any group of players I've ever seen over the summer. Because when they came back, they were ready for battle. And, you know, sometimes you get that special group. I think Henry alluded to it. You get that special group of men who are willing to do what it takes to be successful. You know what? We had very little success. If you look at our record this year, you would think that it's got to be the worst season we've had in a long time. But the bottom line is, for me as a coach, is seeing these athletes do what it takes to get to the next level. Because, you know, we're not always getting someone knocking on our door, getting 800 phone calls from coaches offering us full ride scholarships when we leave Western Nebraska Community College. You know, I think we were members of the women's volleyball team that might be happening, but we are because they were national champions again this year. But because we're building a soccer program, sometimes those kind of things don't happen. And so it takes a tremendous amount of work from each individual player. Each individual athlete has got to commit themselves to doing those things. And I think our group of men this year did that. I think for the most part our group of female athletes did that. And I'm very proud of the accomplishments that they made this year. Our women's program, for the second time out of 4 years, made it to districts. I think that was a huge accomplishment, even though, you know, we received a bye to get into the district tournament. That's a huge accomplishment. The district tournament is down to the final, like, 32 teams in the nation. Out of 278 women's teams, I think there are, in women's soccer. That's a huge accomplishment, ladies. You know, we struggled all season long with lots of our own individual issues, you know, our personality issues and our struggling back and forth with one another. But you know what? When it came down to playing the game and winning the games that was necessary to get us into the district playoffs, we did it. We did the job. You can't argue with that. You know, you either, at the end of the day, you either do the work that is necessary to get where you want to go and to accomplish your goals, or you do not. And no matter what, no matter where we ended up this season, I'm very proud of our ladies as well for the work that they did on the field. We're going to struggle every year. I heard the other coaches saying, you know, we did some good things on the field and you know, off the field, and we did some bad things on. We're going to do that every year. There's always going to be one or two players who try to keep the team working together, try to keep everybody positive, try to keep everybody moving in the right direction, and there's always going to be the ones who are trying to pull players in the wrong direction. That's just the way life is. And the nice part about it is, this is the opportunity that you have as student athletes to make your own decisions and to grow on your own, to make your own mistakes, and to become better in your own life if you choose to do so. You know, some of you, when I look out at the group of players that we have, some of you, I see the intention in your eyes, you know, the understanding of what I'm talking about. Others, I look around and I see people who just don't get it. And that's just the way life is. Some people get it, some people don't get it. And I'm hoping that in 2011, in 2012, our Cougar men and women's teams will be exactly that. That we will come to this school next year, and we will be men and we will be women. We will not be boys and girls. Because I think this year I emphasized to both of my teams several times throughout the season, we are not boys and we are not girls. We are men and we are women. And we need to not only act that way in the classroom and in the dorms and everywhere else that we are off of the soccer field, but we need to step onto the soccer field with the maturity and the mentality that we are men and women and we are playing for the honor of our school, and that we need to give every ounce of effort that we have to be successful. Next year, I hope, is a year that you can look back on and you can say that we, as student athletes at Western Nebraska, left everything we had on the field. This year, I think there were a large number of athletes who did leave everything on the field. But I think that we just kind of struggled because on the men's side we had a very large number of freshmen. On the women's team we had a little bit of an issue with our team dynamic this year. And I think those things play into wins and losses. I mean, it's just the bottom line. We can stand in front of you tonight and candy coat it and say different things, but the bottom line is that's the reality of how seasons are won and lost. And so what we'd like to do this evening is recognize the accomplishments that we achieved over this last year as student athletes. And there are several